So every day I get to work, I'm gonna have like massive pit stains and butt sweat, like not great. So let me set the stage for you. At certain times of the year, the different sort of distributors that loan out press cars have to swap out this year's models for next year's models.
I guess so.
Which means from time to time, you know, I could be without a press car. But see, the problem is I sold my personal car because I do this for YouTube. And unfortunately, it's been a little while since I had a press car. So that meant for the past month, I've basically been driving my 20-year-old C5 Corvette. And there's pros to that and cons. So the problem is it's been really humid lately, and these are like the least breathable fake leather seats of all time. So every day I get to work, I'm gonna have like massive pit stains and butt sweat, like not great, you know, because the climate control is not super good. And I can turn on the AC, but then it's just gonna like frost up the whole windshield because that was a, you know, C5 Corvette thing. Less than ideal commuting conditions, you know? Yeah, another downside is no cup holders. That's a bit of a problem in a C5. They actually had like a can holder. Garbage. Stupid. Also, you have to acknowledge the wear and tear aspect of this. My car's riding on Firestone Indy 500 Firehawk, you know, tires. They're soft, they're not run flats. So if you encounter a nail or something, your morning is gonna go down the tubes real quick. Seriously, GM, what were you thinking with the leather seats in this car? You can buy like American Girl accessories that have more convincing leather.
And while the C5 gets decent gas mileage for a two-seat sports car, it's still not great. I'm averaging about 20 miles per gallon, and it only takes premium, which is not ideal in the current gas price issue. Now, forgive the outfit and all that, but I always work out after school because, you know, gotta stay in shape for YouTube and everything.
So that puts me in a little bit of a pickle, if I'm being honest, because it's been more than 2 weeks without a car to test. So I guess I'm really lucky that I have this awesome C5 to drive every day, right? Hashtag blessed.
You get the idea.
That's not why I have this thing. This thing was intended for mountain runs and sitting at shows in camping chairs, slowly rubbing it with a cloth diaper. You didn't know cloth diapers were a thing? Well, ask your grandparents about that. It was never intended to drive to work every day. It was never intended to take Hallie to and from practice, and definitely not intended for carpooling. That's another big issue, according to Mrs. Jackson, rightfully so. It was also never intended to do grocery store runs, even though it's surprisingly adept at them.
Not that I advise loading your Corvette up with groceries, but it can handle it if you want it to.
So what happens when that's exactly the kind of stuff that it's being used for?
So when it comes to something potentially disastrous being in the car, like a new kitten with Edward Scissorhands, or a large black lab who has to take anxiety medication because he's so afraid of thunder.
What did you do that for?
A Corvette's not exactly the best thing to use to transport something like this, despite being the best boy ever. Or when the guy at Little Caesars gives you the sauce topping, you know, the like marinara sauce topping with the lid not attached, and you stack it up on all the boxes, and it very nearly comes apart on the inside of your, what was the called, tan oak interior? Yeah, ask me how I know in the comments. Ask me how I know and how close I came to having sauce all over the interior of the car. So, can you drive a 20-year-old C5 Corvette as a daily driver? Well, of course you can, if you're kind of more like a single guy with no real actual responsibilities.
Oh, hi, Mark.
It makes a darn good one, to be honest with you. You know, assuming you have the disposable income to just throw away on premium fuel.
What? No.
But for me, it has been a little rough. I know, woe is me driving a 2-seat manual transmission sports car as a daily driver, boo-hoo and all that. And it does help that I have a teenager who can drive herself. But honestly, if Ella couldn't drive herself places, that would have posed a real problem. And so, yes, the C5 Corvette, even a 20-year-old one, can handle some of your kind of daily needs. But ideally, I probably would rather drive something else, especially because I'd like to take care of mine. So I hope you enjoyed this kind of, I guess, peek behind the scenes of what it sometimes means to be an automotive YouTuber, at least a reasonably small channel compared to some of the big dogs out there. Maybe you found it informative. If you did, hit like, please consider subscribing, and hopefully I'll see you soon in the next review, and it will be a review, or something else like this, talking about how I didn't have a review, but I'll try to be entertaining either way.